What I really want to know is whether or not you think moving on from a manager is typically something that helps or hurts a team.
That's the thing. Everybody's like, oh, what do you think, or what are you hearing? Well, I'm not hearing anything.
Right.
But I mean, you've been in this you've been in the writing role. Like, have I written a story that, have I pre-written a story about Scott getting fired? Yeah. I mean, I started it, during the Pittsburgh series, and I updated it, today again. I wrote a lot yesterday. I mean, it's not the first time either during Scott's tenure where I've done this.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, to me, and I know other people have said this as well, but like, what's going to change if Scott is fired? They'll go with an interim manager, obviously not bringing somebody in from outside, and then the last 35 games if they fire him, it's going to be Manny Acton or Christopher Negron, or I don't know, maybe they bring in Dan Wilson. But like, the same meetings and everything else are going to apply, the same work, everything. Or anything's going to change, I guess, maybe messaging, but like, Scott's message to the players is like, hey man, be yourselves and go out and play hard. That's what you expect, go out, play hard. The essence of what he really kind of preaches, and the culture he's tried to build is, this is your team, your performance. Go out, put in the work, put in the preparation to win every day, and be yourself. And, the coaching staff is there to help you do that and help you bring out the best in you. And I mean, for me, that's the essence of what a manager is. And the largest responsibility is whether or not his players prepare to go out there and every day, and then, play hard throughout and don't quit. I mean, like, I've covered, I was going through it, Mike Hargrove, John McLaren, Jim Riggleman, Don Wakamatsu, Darren Brown, Lloyd McClendon, Eric Wedge, Scott Service. Those are the managers I've covered, and I've seen different variations. This team puts in more effort and more daily preparation work than any team I've ever covered, especially even under Scott, which is they've set the standard. So that's kind of what the culture is. Everybody gets caught up in the bullpen and everything else, but I don't know what changes. I mean, they're not going to stop working. It's not something like, we're not going to go take ground balls with Perry Hill or whatever.
DePoto in the Athletic game. He said he thought at the beginning of the season this is one of the most talented rosters that he constructed. I think Stacy and I kind of leaned on 23 and 22 rosters that we felt were a bit more talented. What do you see? Do you think this was one of the more talented rosters?
I think it was a more proven roster, in terms of like the guys they brought back had like more of a major league track record of success. You're talking about Polanco, Garver, Haniger. They've all had varying levels of success at the big league level. Luke Raley in his brief stint too. Like they've done it. Whereas like, Jared Kelenic was still largely unproven and, hadn't really established himself, and some of the younger players, and like, Suarez was kind of on the decline. So, I mean, it's fair for him to say it's one of the, for him to think it might have been one of the more talented rosters, but then that kind of leads you to the questions like, okay, if you think that, then how the talent level maybe wasn't commensurate to what it should have been in the years past, in 21, 22, 23. Mm-hmm. I get that they were coming out of the rebuilding and stuff, but, if it was the most talented roster, maybe you have to reassess what you view as talented. And I mean, like, honestly, here's the easy way to look at it. If you take the opening day roster, even the roster you have now, how many of the players on your roster or in your starting lineups would start for other contending teams?
Right.
Julio Rodriguez, Cal Raleigh, J.P. Crawford, if he's healthy for maybe a few teams, and a lot of teams have really good shortstops. I mean, like, who else is a starter? I guess a Rosarena now would be for as many teams, but like, how many other positions? That's 3 positions. Catcher, center field DH with Julio, and then a Rosarena. Who else, is that talent? Is that winning talent? You're trying to piece everything together, platoons and everything else. That's the question you have to ask. I mean, how much talent do they really have versus what they're playing against? Look at the Dodgers. Mm-hmm. I mean, the first 6 guys, that's not a fun lineup to try and get through. The first 6 guys, 6 or 7 guys.